Hi, welcome to C's Backyard Bees. So, how do you tell if a hive is being robbed? And there's a couple for sure tell signs. So, first off, if you know your hives, then you know which ones are going to be weak. Your weaker hives are the ones that are robbed because they do not have the population to defend it. So, this last hive on right over right here, this hive, their queen did not get mated, did not come back after they swarmed. So they were a weak hive, right? So I already knew that they are at risk of being robbed. They had a very low population. They had no queen replacing them. But with that, we can see some other signs that show robbing and not just an active beehive. So the first sign that we can see is just the crazy activity at the beehive. These are not bees entering a hive all nicely organized. There's no guards. We have a lot of bees on the top left there kind of fighting, trying to find a way into the hive. And we have a lot of fighting in the air around. So those are all signs that this hive is being robbed. A second sign is if we look down here, we see a lot of cappings, right? A lot of wax cappings. So that's another sign that they are being robbed because those robbers are peeling off those cappings and taking the honey from underneath. And then underneath, sadly, we see the inhabitants of the hive. They are decimated, they're dead. Yeah, not the greatest sight, not safe for work rating, right? So those are definitely the signs on the outside. Let's get in the hive and see what we can see. We see some bees fighting right there, right? Like, this is definitely a fight to the death scenario. Don't really want it going on in my apiary, so we're definitely gonna take care of this hive tonight, so it stops after today. So as we're talking about robbing situations, they are all forager bees, so they're a lot more active, a lot more aggressive in nature. You may see some fighting if you have a hive being robbed. And what they're doing is they're just going in here and getting all this capped honey, right? So that is their whole piece, is they are robbing whatever is left. So you may open it and you're like, oh, look at this, I have, bees, but what they're really doing is just anything that was left, they're opening and taking, right? They're opportunistic. The problem with robbing is, they killed whoever was left in it, right? So if this was just a weak hive, if it was queen right and it got robbed, like, that basically kills whoever's left. So we can see some fighting going on there. But another main problem is if you're a backyard beekeeper and you're not keeping track of your hives, you don't know what's going on in them, and say that you have some kind of foul brood, and an American foul brood, European foul brood, all the hives within your area, 5 mile radius, they could be getting those diseases as well. So I know that this hive died because their queen never mated and didn't come back, right? Like, I didn't have American foul brood, but what I could be spreading is varroa mites, right? Because all these bees are getting together, and if I had a bunch of varroa mites in this hive, then those varroa mites could be getting on these foragers and going back to their home hives and spreading those varroa mites back to their home hive, right? So that is like one problem of robbing, or even communal feeders per se. So if I put out a bucket of sugar water to feed my bees, I could be feeding everybody's bees in a 5 mile radius, and it's a great way to be like, hey bees, come on over and get varroa if there's a bunch of varroa, right? Or someone else's hive is coming to my house and spreading a bunch of varroa. So not the best, but yeah, so they're cleaning this hive out tonight I'm going to completely close this hive up after all these bees go home, and then I'm going to freeze these frames to kill any wax moths that may be on them, and then I'll store these frames until I need them again, because they are all drawn out deep frames, so they are super valuable for making splits next year. I might even need these frames to figure out what I'm doing with that first hive this year if they keep laying those swarming cells. So that is what robbing kind of looks like. A lot frenzied. We could go through this whole thing, never find a queen. They killed off everyone who was left. So yeah, so that is that.